My name's Mark True. I'm Head of Treatment Counselling at Broadway Lodge. This is the Miracle Mansion podcast. Firstly, I'd like to introduce, he's absolutely a legend, as I call him. He's a legend. But introduce yourself.
I'm Jack. I'm an addict, an alcoholic.
Cool. Affectionately known as Jack RP.
Markkus T.
Jack RP. So firstly, to all the people that are watching the podcast, leave comments, like, subscribe on whatever application that you're watching this on, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever. And Jack and I are gonna chop it up in a bit. So, Jack.
Yes.
Welcome back to Broadway.
Thank you.
When
Privilege.
When was the last time you've been here?
I did a share here sometime this year, but when I left here was February 24th, 2021.
February the 24th, 2021.
Which is 18 months ago.
Cool.
No, 20 months ago.
Cool. Where's your picture? Where's your picture? Show your
this picture.
Yeah. Go put it to the camera. So stand up and show it to the camera. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in Jack RP.
That's who I am.
Brilliant. So just so that everybody knows, one of the things that are kept in Broadway, so we take a picture of everybody when they come in, and please believe me, 99.9% of people that leave here look very different to the picture that they come in. We have had a recent instance where we had one person that looked the same.
How?
I don't even know. Yeah, she just looked exactly the same. Right, so Jack, you look so much better as always.
Thank you.
And I've got so much love for you anyway. So
yeah.
Jack RP, listen, I want to talk to you about your life before you came to Broadway, addiction, what brought you to Broadway Lodge, and what you've been doing ever since. So
yes.
I know it's not, it's I know you said it, it's was it a year and a bit since you left Broadway?
Yeah. I'm almost coming up to my 2 years.
Wow.
On the 28th of November. 2 years clean and sober.
Yes, listen to that. Gun salute to Jack, nearly 2 years. And let's have it right. That's a massive achievement.
It is. Probably the biggest achievement of my life.
Exactly.
Compared to where I've come from to where I am today.
Yeah.
It's undescribable.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's chop it up. Tell me about what happened. What brought you to Broadway Lodge?
What brought me to Broadway Lodge? Well, I was in addiction. And I've recently figured out I was an alcoholic as well. But, before Broadway Lodge, I was just using drugs daily. Drugs, and if there was no drugs, it was alcohol. But
why? Why was you
why?
Just why?
Basically, for the past 10 years, 12 years, I was using recreationally, and then
so it was just for fun.
It was
just enjoying it.
But then it got to the point almost 5 years ago on my birthday, my stepmom, she died on my birthday in a car crash. She did. And the facial expression.
God.
Yeah. And, my escape was drugs. I just ran to the next pub. I drank myself stupid, took all the drugs I could think of, because the pain was undescribable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
so this was just, you was just using drugs for fun. It was just fun.
Yeah.
So when you grew up, did you know that drugs were bad?
Yes, because it was in my family. Do you know what I mean? My mum was taking it. My dad's been in prison several times because of it. My brother's taken it with my mum, and it was like one day I was always going to try it, because I didn't fit in the family dynamic until I tried it. That's how I felt.
Oh, right.
So I guess it was a build-up.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a build-up.
Okay. So I guess taking drugs in your family for recreational uses was a normality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just fitted in with the family.
Yeah. Because I never fitted in with the family dynamic. Do you know, I got bullied in school, couldn't take that home. Do you know? And I was always left out, and I got used to that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then it reached a day where, the amount of arguments I had with my brother, pissed up.
Yeah.
It is all right to swear, isn't it?
you got to speak.
right.
You got to speak how you speak.
Yeah, that's cool.
What you feel comfortable
but
with.
yeah, you know, it was like I never fitted in with the family because of I didn't take the drugs, and I was the youngest in the family. You know, and then I used to drink to fit in, and then I started smoking a bit of cannabis, you know, because my brother was doing it, and I thought it was a cool thing to do. And then, I used to whitey all the time because I couldn't take it. I didn't even like the taste of it. I didn't even like alcohol growing up, And then next thing you know, I remember just getting kicked out at the age of 16. I remember my dad throwing my bags out the front door and telling me to fuck off. Do you know what I mean? And
Why?
Why? Because I was only 15, 16. I did my exams, and months before I asked him if I could go camping with 30 others, and he said as long as I do housework. But because he had a few drinks during the day in the pub, come home, went to bed, and it was the day that I was supposed to go camping. It was like I asked Mum because Mum was around, and he went up to ask my dad, and my dad said no. And I just thought, you know what, like I've had a fuck enough. I've had enough of this, because it was just consistently, it was his way or no way, but I did what he asked me, and next thing you know, it was my dad come downstairs screaming in my face, and I had enough of it, I just told him to shove it up his ass, so I left. The next thing you know, I had 4 bags of clothes, and that was it, I went camping that night, got absolutely levered, but then I was homeless. Do you know what I mean? I was homeless, I was sleeping on a canal, for several days or several weeks. It was just turned 16. Yeah.
Where was this? Whereabouts? Where are you from, Jack?
I'm from Mid Wales.
Mid Wales.
So 3.5 hours away from Bristol. So it's about, yeah.
What I know Mid Wales is absolutely beautiful, but not at 16 sleeping in canals.
No, or by the canal.
By the canal, yeah.
And thankfully, I had to ditch all my clothes, I had to carry the bag with a sleeping bag and a few bits of clothes that I could carry, And my sister, I can't even remember how I got my phone working, but, my sister contacted me and she said I can go stay at hers because she was in a relationship and she was sharing a house at the time. So she said I had to get home by 12 o'clock and it was a limited time. So I was running down the canal because I needed a roof, and it was, you're talking several miles, and I managed to get there, but quite quickly I fell out with my sister's boyfriend because I thought that he was pushing her around, So I got up in his face loads of times and then they left, and I ended up being without any family at the age of 16, living a free life, I thought, and I was drinking. Right. And at one point it was every weekend. I'd quit college then. And then it soon went on to cannabis, and I was smoking and drinking like frequently, and it progressed and progressed and progressed to the point where I was just throwing house parties every weekend, but throughout the week I was trying to get drink and drugs, and the group I was around, it was madness because we would be smoking an ounce of cannabis in like 2 days. And that's a lot. That's 28 grams, and that's a lot of cannabis between 5 people, and it's and it just progressed onto like hallucinogenics, and it's crazy because the amount of house parties I created, I was pissing everywhere. I remember pissing on a Nintendo Wii, the TV, in a cupboard because I was just levered. I've got another photo on my phone that I was just so skinny and scrawny because I didn't know how to cook. But I had no parents to tell me what to do. So I thought I was free. I thought this was the life, and it wasn't, and it was just mental chaos, carnage. I couldn't live, didn't know how to live.
Well, you're a kid parenting yourself.
Yeah.
Without
guidance.
Yeah, without guidance. Yeah.
Because growing up, I didn't have any family to guide me because they were busy either drinking or taking drugs.
Yeah.
It's mad because, like my dad was drinking vodka on the table, in the kitchen. My mum was smoking cannabis and drinking Lambrini. My brother was smoking cannabis and drinking like Stella or something, and that was their life, for several years. Well, since I grew up, and it was like living in a house by myself with just a couple of housemates, I never had that guidance to be able to live by myself, do you know. So I just did it the way I thought I did.
Yeah.
And that was correct for me, do you know. And it was mental, do you know. It was painful.
Yeah.
But at the time, it wasn't painful because I thought that was a good life.
Yeah.
Do you know? And that's the illusion. Do you know what I mean? And then I remember just literally playing the Xbox the one day, and it was like I almost had like woke up, and I figured out like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Do you know? And I moved back to my parents that day.
Yeah.
Do you know? I was 17, and I put myself in college. Do you know? And I got myself into a relationship. Then, you know, and
So your dad, so your dad let you back. Had your mum passed away by then?
No, my real mum, who I'm still in contact with, you know, we'll get to that point.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's a long process, but it's a lot. I'm only 26, but it feels like I've lived a 30-year life.
Yeah,
do you know, because of the carnage. But you know, I moved back into my parents because they let me. I realised what I was doing. I got honest with them. You know, and I went to college, do you know, and I did art and design because I found out that I had a talent of art. You know, and life started getting better a bit. You know, I put down the drugs for so long, and the drink was still there. You know, because I guess I wanted to do something. But then, you know, I got into a relationship in there quite quickly in college, and that then, you know, I was lying the fact that I started taking drugs again, started doing like ecstasy on the occasion, you know, a couple of times a month, and taking coke, and you know, it just got worse as time went on, you know.
So
and
it progressed.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
That old chestnut,
Yeah.
you know.
The disease progressed.
Yeah, for sure. And next thing you know, she ended a relationship because we were arguing constantly, and that's the consequence, you know. That was painful because I had to deal with the emotions. My first instinct was to go and run to drugs, you know, and alcohol. And I just took off then again, you know, just using and drinking and to numb the pain.
Literally.
You know, and that's exactly what my life's been. Running away from a responsibility because I didn't know how to deal with it because I never got shown as a kid.
Yes.
Do you know? And I know this now.
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes.
And you know, what happened then? I don't even know what happened then. I can't even remember because just so much has happened, you know. And
so you just ended your partner had ended the relationship. You were at college, and literally you went. I
finished college.
Yeah, you numbed the pain you numbed the pain by just immersing yourself in using drugs again.
That's where I got to.
Yeah.
I remember getting a job actually in a bar. When I was 17, because I had to get supervised, you know, when I was at that pub for 2 or 3 years, you know, and it was great because I remember the landlady was supportive when the girl broke up with me, you know. But the thing is, because I was working in a bar, I was drinking, you know, and I was crying in the bar and making a right fool of myself. But at the time, I loved it, you know, because it got me through it, you know. And then life got better after the breakup. I was still using, but I was lying to my boss, basically, you know. I was taking drugs before shift, do you know what I mean? And she had no idea, but she was against it, do you know. And then I got into another relationship a year later. No, that's a lie. Before then, I was still at home. And I fell out with my family, actually. It was 6 to 8 months after moving back. I finished college. And I fell out with my dad and my brother. And at the time, I spoke to my boss, the landlady, and she said if I wanted to move in, I could. And so I did. You know, on a Sunday, I moved in with the landlady. And she became my mum figure over time.
Okay.
Because she was emotionally supportive, she was financially supportive, she was just supportive.
Yeah.
Where I've never had that support, love, affection, attention.
Yeah.
You know, all of that stuff that I've always wanted. Do you know, if I had any problems, I can go to her.
Yeah.
Where I couldn't go to my family.
God
you know?
Bless that landlady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, whatever her name is, honourable shout out to whoever you are, because obviously You needed that, and so many people don't understand how important meeting the emotional needs of children and young people are, because that's where some of the problems will start.
Yeah. I had like a glimpse of love from what parents should be, you know, because the last, like, she died on my birthday, you know, on the 6th of January, 2018, a car accident at 4:20 in the morning.
Jesus.
You know, and
that must have been devastating. Yeah. I can see it in your eyes now just talking about that. Bro.
It is painful, you know, but thanks to this Broadway Lodge, I'm able to talk about that now, you know, but...
What's her name?
Barbara Jones, died at 60, I think it was 64, you know.
Rest in peace, Barbara Jones.
You know, but...
God bless you, lady.
Yeah, it's mad, because like the time I lived there, you know, she fed me, she gave me the strength to go on my first ever holiday. I had money saved up, you know. I stopped the drugs. I was drinking a bit, do you know what I mean? But I lived in a pub. Do you know what I mean? I was a captain of a pool team. I had friends, do you know, I was sociable. I had weight, I had colour, do you know, I had confidence, you know, and I ended, because when I first moved in, I said to her, I said, like, it's only going to be for a short period of time until I sort myself out, you know. And I was 18 and I got into another relationship. And the girl I got into a relationship with, she had a 2-year-old son, so I become a stepdad at the age of 18, do you know. And that was challenging itself, but I wanted to spend more time with her, you know, and I fell out with Barbara, you know, the first time. So I quickly moved out of there. I moved in with the partner at the time. But within like 6 days, she ended up, I remember staying at her house. She went to work, but never come home.
Oh, Christ.
And she said that she stayed on a sofa, the bloke she slept with previous to me.
Right, okay.
So my mind went mental. You know, I stayed up all night, panicking, worrying, stressed, and, you know, and when I met her, you know, it was, I was just so calm, you know, and I had a conversation with her and she just basically called it off there and then, you know, and I was like, fucking hell, like, what am I going to do now? You know, I can't go back to Barbara. I fell out with my family previous to that, you know, and it's just carnage. I ended up moving, I see, so much has happened. When I was with her, my dad come to me, because I got back with my dad, sort of apologised and everything. 9-10 months later, my dad come to me wanting to split up with my mum. So I was the parent there.
Okay.
You know, and I said to him, I said, look, you've got to be respectful. I said, you've been engaged to my mum for 28 years. You've got to go to her and just explain yourself. And he didn't know how to. So I took it upon myself to go to my mum and explain this to my mum. So I pushed my feelings aside, you know, and my mum was grateful that I told her. And it's fucking mad, because my brother and my sister were telling me not to say anything, not to get involved. They're both adults. But them to still get friends today because I put myself in the middle of their...
Because of that intervention that you did, for your dad. Wow.
Mental, you know, because my dad would have just got up and left. My mum would have been bitter. Them two would have not spoke.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it's... When I left Broadway Lodge, I had my family all in one place. I had my dad, my mum, my brother and my sister. And I had a photo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well done, Jack.
Further down the line, I become like a fucking father figure there. Do you know what I mean? Father, mother figure.
Definitely. It's the supportive, responsible adult to your parents. That's
the age of 19.
Yeah.
18, whatever it was.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And you're not. I've seen this so many times before, where the children become the parents to the adults in certain instances. You know, so
yeah, it's not. It's mental. So,
did you ever get to go back to Barbara Jones?
I ended up apologising, and so did she. Pardon me, excuse me. You know, and I ended up going back to the pub, and you know, I was there weekly. I played pool.
But you didn't go back to live with her?
No, but you know, it was. I moved on at that point.
Oh right, okay.
You know, but when my ex-partner told me that she didn't want me to be there, I moved back in with my mum.
Right,
Because my
okay.
dad had split up at that point, and this is what I'm trying to work out in my head.
Yeah.
You know,
God, Jack, Jesus, it's complicated, isn't it?
complicated. Like I said, 30 years is spaced in.
Well, it feels like 40 years condensed into 20, between bloody 16 and 24 or 23, 24.
24,
Yeah.
Mad. You know, and it's
8-year madness.
It is absolutely.
I think you used the word carnage. Yeah.
Absolute carnage. Sums up my life, mate. It's gotta be.
And you know what? We're laughing about it now because we're through it. But back then, it must have been. That's what I call. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is hell on earth. People talk about hell and heaven and all this kind of stuff. You can experience hell on earth, and in recovery, you can experience heaven on earth. And this must have felt like hell to you.
It was normal back then.
Wow.
Looking back, it is hell. Painful and horrible.
Yes.
Dark.
Yes.
Do you know?
Grim.
Yeah. And now looking back on that, I can acknowledge that and think that's just not that's not normal.
No.
It's not healthy, it's not right, it's not a life, do you know? No. Back then,
it's not a life for a young person.
No.
Well, for anybody, but no, for nobody. Yeah.
And getting brought up into that, and obviously carrying that on myself, and then the addiction and everything, the behaviours, and it was just a normal back then. That's all I knew. Here, there, and everywhere, carnage. Here, there, and everywhere, following me. Do you know, I was following that. I was always following the drugs and alcohol and the mayhem. Do you know, it was just absolutely, and my mind was just going as well as life. Do you know, in a small town.
Yeah.
It's Yeah. But I'm glad that I'm able to have these moments where I can look back and reflect, because I do quite reflect a lot on my past, because it's somewhere where I don't want to go back to.
No, definitely not.
And this is why I feel privileged to come here today. Absolutely privileged and honoured, because I can hopefully put a message out there and share that you just don't need to keep going down that road, there is always help if you ask for it, And I guess I'm proof.
Absolutely. If I'm honest, I love the fact that. How old are you now, Jack?
I'm 26, 27 in 2 months.
Yeah, 27 in a month and a half, and your life. Your life is more than back on track and going in the right direction. So tell me, how did you get to Broadway Lodge? So, your mum and dad are divorced. Your mum and dad are not divorced. Then they're split up. You've been dropped the intervention to your mum.
Well,
what happened next?
Well, there's a lot more. It just went down and down and down.
What? There's more.
There is a lot more, Markkus. Yes.
Christ, let's hear it then.
Yeah. When I moved back in with my mum, I started taking more ecstasy, weekly, daily, whenever I could get it. I knew a dealer lived around the corner. He'd let me tick. I had 2 lots of income as well. It was, I just remember taking so much ecstasy because this was the end of the month. This was, I think. What happened then? I just taken drugs and drugs and drugs. I got myself. I remember over Christmas, I didn't have a job, didn't have no money then at some point. And my brother was taking drugs, as well as our family friend, as well as my mum, my brother's partner. So there was just fucking nothing but drugs throughout the whole of December, Christmas, up until the 16th of January, because I had myself a job then. But I remember it didn't stop. I was going to work, sniffed up, fucked from no sleep for 2 or 3 days. Then that's when the benders started happening more, because I was taking more drugs, because my immune system was higher, because it's been a period of using. And then it got to the point where my ex-partner, who I was a stepdad for, wanted to know me again. So, it was 2 weeks before her birthday, and I got with her again, and I spoiled her for her birthday, and then a week later she ended the relationship, so I got used and went back to drugs even more, and it's just fucking carnage. Do you know what I mean? More carnage.
Oh my God, I'm just thinking of the whole getting back bit, knowing buying whatever you did and then just being dropped again. I mean, why?
Because I guess it's the lust. I wanted companionship. I wanted to stop the drugs, and I thought a woman would do that.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I felt at the time she had some power over me, I guess. Do you know what I mean? And I wanted to be with her.
Yeah.
And I thought she wanted to be back in my life. And also the sex probably amongst that, do you know? Like I had a high sex drive and, you know, and as, you know, I've always wanted a woman, you know, but I quite like the idea of a long-lasting relationship.
Okay.
You know, so
intimacy, connectivity.
Yeah.
But we all know that nobody outside of ourselves can resolve that issue of addiction. So we can replace it with women, cars, this, that, whatever. But you wouldn't have been aware of that at the time. So she came in and then she left again.
Instantly.
Well, that was rejection.
Oh, no, throughout my whole life, family, friends, got bullied in school. You know, that was
so rejection plays a
massive part.
Yeah, rejection plays a massive part for your life.
Yeah, and it's something that it's different today, but we'll get there.
Cool.
You know, but yeah, after that, what happened? I can't even. There was a space that my mind just will not remember. But it got to the point where I had myself a job, got myself into another relationship later down the line after a year of just sleeping with people, you know, and just having fun, taking drugs, just continuously. And it kept on getting worse and worse.
A hedonistic lifestyle.
Yeah.
You can call it that.
Fucking painful, that, do you know, because it's no life. No life. I had no self-respect. I had no respect for anyone else. I was just dying, basically. Do you know, I was slowly dying. And then I remember getting with someone. No, that's a lie. I remember waking up on my bed, on getting to my stepmom now, you know.
Okay.
I remember waking up to a phone call off my brother early hours, about 8 o'clock in the morning, saying, "Have you seen the news?" You know, because Barbara's died. I'm like, fuck off. You know, I didn't want to believe it. You know, I had an argument there and then with my brother, you know, and then Barbara, her son, Paul, her son, who was like my best friend at the time, you know, he phoned me just gone 9:15 it was. Just his words were, "Mum's died," not Barbara's died, Mum's died, do you know, and that's something where it hits me hard there, do you know, because I guess we saw her as a mum, do you know, because her last words Christmas night, because I went to see her at Christmas night and had party and games and stuff, you know, she said she loved me like a real son, do you know, and that was the last time I saw her. And then 4:20 on the 6th of January, she was going on holiday, and there was the driver, which was Graham, and then Gareth, which is Barbara's partner at the time, and Chrissy, and Barbara was in the back, you know, and they were on the motorway. They stopped apparently, and a van, he was on drugs apparently, went straight in the back end and instantly killed them, do you know, and
killed them.
Yeah, he was fine.
When you say them, what do you mean?
Killed Barbara and Chrissy, who were sitting in the back. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You know, and it's mental, do you know? Because I remember getting off the phone with Paul, and jumping in the shower, having a shower straight away. Do you know? I put some shorts on, I put a hoodie on, trainers, no socks, no boxers, no t-shirt, and a hat. And I dragged Mum down, because at the time I was living back with my mum. And we went downtown to go check the pub, and the pub door was black door, do you know. I remember walking past it vividly, and it was shut, and that's the first time I've ever seen it shut during the day, do you know. And it was like, oh fuck, do you know. My first reaction was to go to the next pub that was open and drink myself silly, and that's what I did for 12 days straight. All I did was drink, take drugs, cry. There was limited sleep, no food. I remember just laying on a fold-out bed, because that was what I was sleeping on. I remember laying there, and I was facing the wall, and I remember just crying. And I remember my mum actually getting off her chair for the first time in her life and just giving me a cuddle. Do you know? And it was like, fuck. Why isn't it? Oh, I got a lump in my throat, man. You know. Because it's not very often I go into detail about this, you know. I'm quite happy talking about it, but when it all happened, you know, I just took as much drugs and did as much drugs and as much as I possibly could, you know. Yet again, to run away from a responsibility, to get rid of how I felt, the pain, the feelings, the thoughts, you know. I wanted to do everything but think about that. You know, I remember walking up to my dad when he finished work, because my dad knew where I was. I was in the pub a couple of days later, or a week later or something, and I come out the pub and I walked up to him, and I was crying halfway walking to him, you know, and he just hugged me, you know, and he was like, everything's going to be all right, you know. But at the time, I just didn't feel that, you know. I just wanted comfort, do you know what I mean? I wanted that comfort, wanted to run away, do you know. And then, you know, I knew that Paul would be isolating. I knew that he'd be drinking heavy, you know, because he was close to his mum. And I decided to go and help him in the pub. I knew how to run a pub. I knew everything. And I asked him, I said, like, look, you grieve. You do what you've got to do. I'll sort out downstairs and I'll sort of run the pub for you, do you know. And he was, I remember when I went in, he told all the staff, he said, just leave Jack. He knows what he's doing, do you know? So I did that. And it just wasn't the same. The feelings wasn't there. She wasn't at the end of the bar. You just know when you know, do you know? And it was just that sorrow, that loss, do you know? It was painful being in that pub, but I was trying to think of Paul, you know, and it's...
it just wasn't the same.
Nah, that feeling, just the feeling, the thoughts, just to see it, just atmosphere, yeah, it was just, it was mental, you know. And then 2 months after her death, January, February, March the 2nd, I started talking to someone, a female again, you know. And I met her, and it was instantly, the moment I met her that night, we went into another pub, and for the first time, I didn't have pain. I felt free from pain, and I was able to laugh, I was able to smile, I was able to just be myself, you know. So she fixed me at that moment in time, you know, my ex it was. And that, you know, I thought that was it, boom. You know, she's helping me. I want to be with her. Do you know, I thought she was beautiful. Yeah. Everything, and it wasn't. It was just fixing my feelings, because I didn't face my grief, because one, I just took drugs and alcohol, and then I got myself into a relationship instantly, which that turned very, very sour.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, do you know, it was like she wanted to try drugs.
Oh no.
She wanted to try cocaine. So I thought, me and my thinking, which led me to treatment, you know, was like, I feel safe enough if you tried it in front of me. I will make sure that you're safe.
That's the justification, that also, and the rationalisation for the yeah.
Boom.
Jesus.
And that's mental, just that way of thinking, you know. And I was there, and I bought some drugs after a night out, and we went back, and she loved it, man. And it was just like, shit, what have I created here? Do you know? And 5 months into that relationship, I was getting kicked in the bollocks. Do you know, I was kicked in the bollocks. The first time, you know, it was an abusive relationship, you know. It's not all just her, but because I created a lot of arguments to go and use, do you know, but getting kicked in the bollocks and falling down three steps on the stairs, do you know, because the arguments arose through nothing but a come downs, probably. Do you know what I mean? The feelings, because of the drugs, was my mood swings and things like that. We'd be arguing, and that just progressed. That was just the very start of it, you know. But she got kicked out, so I took her in, you know, and I learned how to cook for her. I learned, you know, I was doing 18-hour days in the end, you know. I was going to work, coming home, cooking, cleaning, doing some shopping, getting a shower and going to bed while she was just sitting on the sofa. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'd argue, do you know? And it got to the point where she was throwing plates at me. You know, she would be ruining my bedroom. She'd be, you know, punching me and kicking me and slapping me, spitting in my face. Do you know? There was one time where I slapped her out of my face, and I say that with guilt because, you know, the way I remember watching my dad hit my mum when he first came out of prison, and I thought that was wrong, do you know? But when you're backed up in a corner and you've got nowhere else to go and you're getting slapped and kicked, you know, I'm not going to justify it. I slapped her out of my face and I ran and squealed to my dad. Do you know? I just wanted to take more drugs right now. Do you know? I wanted to take more drugs, you know, and we were taking drugs then, you know, and it became more repetitive and more continuously. And then eventually we moved in together, and because she fell out of her dad and didn't speak to her dad. And so I guess I was a role model, and I thought I was protecting her. But when she's feeling suicidal, you know, like I've seen her put a knife to her own throat, slice herself.
Oh, God.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm having to be there, even though we were arguing prior to that. Do you know, I'm having to witness that, and she had to go through that herself. Do you know what I mean? That's not a nice thing for her to go through because I was in addiction. Do you know?
What a nightmare.
Yeah, and knife slashes on her own legs because she was suicidal as well. Do you know what I mean? And I couldn't cope with that. You know, I thought I'd go and get some drugs because that will make us feel better. Do you know? And it did. So I did it more. Do you know? Yeah, the amount of times that I've been in cells because she's phoned the cops on me because I was a nightmare. Do you know, I caused carnage. Do you know, I broke both of my hands because I didn't want to hurt her. You know, I broke my foot, two bones in my foot. You know, because I kicked a step because I didn't want to hurt her. Do you know, I did everything but trying to hurt her. Do you know, and those times where I did pick her up. Do you know what I mean, and put her outside because she wouldn't leave, but I just couldn't deal with going out myself because I'd be locked out. Do you know? And it was just that was like 5 months. That's when it all started in that relationship, and I was with her for another 2.5 years.
What?
Yeah, and you know, I had the abuse, the mental abuse. You know,
psychological,
emotional,
and the physical.
Very all of them.
I remember.
You know,
I remember that was a part of your treatment journey.
Yeah,
because I didn't realise how bad. Yeah, I never really think about as much women being perpetrators of domestic violence, but certainly in your situation, I was very, very much aware of your partner being the perpetrator rather than the female being the perpetrator of domestic violence rather than the male.
Yeah.
So I kind of really, it really stuck. That's one of the things that struck out for me in your therapeutic experience coming here and what you used to talk about. And and obviously the feedback I used to get, and you know, when you just look and think, how, and then when I heard the stories, I'm like, oh, right, I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's painful. You know, I had a hot oil thrown at me. Do you know? But the thing is, it's not. I had that going on. She was suicidal, but then I've also got my brother telling me my mum's overdosing. I had my dad with a knife by the side of his bed, by the side of the bath. So I was having to try and look after all three of them as well as myself, and I just didn't know how to.
Who gave you that role though? Who gave you that role that you thought that you had to look after your parents?
I got pushed. I didn't. I guess it was myself. You know, it was definitely myself. But when my brother's asking me to go and be there a bit more for my mum, you know, it's like I felt like I kind of had no choice to.
Yeah, you're obliged to. Yeah, an obligation. Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And you know, I remember seeing like there's been you know, it was painful. My escape was drugs. And that was my best friend because I had all of that exterior stuff going on, but he was looking after me. Yeah. And I couldn't look after myself. Do you know? And it's like, it was just, you know.
Sounds madness.
Yeah, because I remember my dad, him and his wife fell out. Well, at the time they were partners and not her husband and wife, and my dad got asked to leave, so I had my dad on a sofa, you know, so I had to be a role for him. I took him down to the council, I helped him paint his place, you know, I moved him in, he lived near enough next door, do you know, and then I helped my mum move house, you know, she downgraded, you know, and I've always been there for other people, you know, but I never knew how to, you know, but the drugs in my relationship was nothing but to run away from how I felt.
Just escape.
That was all.
Just escape.
It was my best friend because I didn't argue with me. It didn't hurt me. It was expensive because I owe thousands. Do you know what I mean? I owed the wrong people the wrong money. Do you know, the Irish, the Jippos kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? They were threatening to kill my dog and everything, you know. You know, for that relationship, you know, she moved out and she wanted me to move into her new place. So I did that, and the first 18 days I was there, she kicked me out 16 times. I remember sleeping on the slabs out the front with my clothes. Do you know what I mean? And that was just more occasion. Like, so much happened. You know, I tried jumping out of the car when it was doing about 36 miles an hour. Do you know, I remember all this specifically because it was moments that was painful. Do you know? And my addiction got to the point where I was borrowing money, I was ticking, I also had her income and I also had my income, and it still was not enough. You know, I was hallucinating. You know, I remember with my partner, I was at my mum's flat. You know, I was in the bedroom and I was on the phone to 111 saying I've got maggots or bugs going down my bell end because I was having a drug psychosis. You know, my throat felt like it was huge because I was looking myself in the mirror and I felt like bugs were going down there. Do you know, I remember 3-4 hours a night, every night near enough, looking at my body thinking I've got bugs here, bugs there. Do you know, tripping because I've taken so much drugs and not had enough sleep. Do you know, like...
Jack, tell me when was the rock bottom? What happened?
The rock bottom. It was about 7 months prior to Broadway. I owed the Irish the wrong amount of money. They were chasing me. I owed most of my town money because I borrowed so much money off people
in this small little town that you lived in. In Mid Wales.
I was down to 10 stone 4. I was pale. I had nothing but acne and spots. You know, I had no family. My family didn't want to really know me. I had no friends whatsoever. You know, I was tiptoeing around the flat. You know, I was in a dysfunctional relationship. I couldn't look after myself. You know, I couldn't eat. You know, it was life itself was just. I was non-existent. Do you know, I was just wanting drugs. That was it. Just drugs. Do you know? And the amount of times I said to my ex-partner, look, I'm going to stop. And I didn't. You know, and then one day, it was a Monday morning at about, I remember looking at my phone, it was 14 minutes past 10. And I remember phoning up a thing called a Kaleidoscope, which is up in Mid Wales. And I said, I need help. And luckily enough, it was the bloke. I knew the bloke on the phone, Russell. You know, I'm grateful for that bloke because he was the first person I met.
Yeah, you know, I know that feeling of that person. Yeah. My one was honourable shout out to Russell from Kaleidoscope. My one was Renee Broxman from the CDP in Forest Hill. I'll never forget her. We just never forget those people, do you? Because that person provided the intervention that literally changed your life. Yeah.
Yeah. For 7 months, I had to phone him once a week, you know, and no matter how fucked I was still on the phone. I missed one phone call. Do you know? And it come to the point where he was like, if a rehabilitation centre was an option, would you take it? I'm like, yes. Didn't even think about it. He gave me 3 options and I picked the middle one, which was Broadway Lodge. Do you know?
Was it as simple as that?
It's just because I didn't know what else to do. I had no other option. Do you know? I was stuck. I was stuck in hell and I didn't know how to get out of it. Like, yeah, no one and nothing could help me. And I heard about Kaleidoscope. and I guess I've always had that willingness in me and that fight, because I've had to be a fighter throughout my life, you know, and the build up to it, you know, the last time I used was the 28th of November, 2020. And that was with my brother and my mum, you know, in a flat, you know, and it's, you know, I remember using there. And then the day I was supposed to come to Broadway, it was, I remember Russell coming to pick me up, and my dad was there, and my ex-partner was there, you know, and they waved me off, do you know what I mean? And I've not looked back since.
Wow.
I've not looked back since.
Do you remember arriving here?
Fuck yeah.
Tell me about it.
That was the scary, like, I'm not just saying this because you're here, it is the scariest feeling I've ever had to go through. I'm 3.5 hours away from my family. I'm coming into a rehabilitation centre, and I don't know what the fuck I'm expecting. It's because it's the fear of the unknown, so they say in recovery, do you know. And I remember going into detox, I was shaking, I was shitting myself, you know, I was pale, hence the photo. That was the first time, that was the first day I got there, that photo. And I went in because it was still during COVID. We had to go out for fags or whatever. At the time I was smoking. And I remember meeting Joe. He actually works here as a volunteer.
Yeah.
I remember meeting him, and he was the most anxious bloke I've ever met. I thought I was anxious. He spoke to me first, do you know? And I was throughout my whole treatment centre. He gave me away at the very last day, and he cried.
In your medallion.
Yeah.
Wow.
He cried, do you know?
Honourable shout out to Joe.
Go on, Joe.
Get in there, Joe.
Keep going. But that was my first day. And I remember I still owed the Irish the money, and they were having a go at me in detox. And I just told them straight. I said, "Look, I'm in recovery. I'm in rehab. You know." And they were like, "You what?" You know, and they actually shown support. Martin, what his name was, you know, he actually said, "Fair play to you, Jack. You know, that's the best decision you can do." Do you know? Because at one point he thought I've never took crack, but he thought I was doing crack because I was taking that much. Do you know? For a dealer to turn around and say that, fuck me. Do you know? But this, like, I don't know how to explain Broadway Lodge, but nothing but it broke me down, but it created the person I am today. It got me through the darkest times of my life, but created the best times of my life. It's had to. They pushed and pushed, like yourself, you know, you've pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where I just broke. I needed to break, but in a safe environment.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Who was your counsellor?
Louise. Big shout out to Louise. I miss. Go on, Louise.
She's the most compassionate, softest, the most.
Yeah.
You know, I love all my counsellors. I love all my team, but they've all got different individual characteristics. But Louise is probably the most compassionate person I've ever met, and I keep telling. I've never met anybody more compassionate than her walking on this planet. There's nobody like her. I've never met anybody like her, and I stand by that today. And I love, you know, I've met so many different counsellors, but Louise is something else when it comes to that. She's just got something about her. She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah. She cried on the last day. I remember she was tearing up, and then, same as Jane. I remember Jane, she turned around and she was like, because I was to her right hand side in the hall, and she was like, "You remind me of my son. You're Jane, like my son, you are."
That would have been Jane.
And I was like, "Jane, please don't say that right now." Because I got my feelings back, do you know what I mean? And emotions, and it was just like, oh God.
So Broadway perform miracles.
It does. I remember it's changed so much, Markkus. Wow. Like I was here 2 years ago for 3 months, Christmas, New Year, and my birthday, do you know? And I struggled with my birthday.
Yes, yeah. I remember. Yeah.
It's
Mr. Unicorn.
You still remember?
Listen, brother, it's my job to remember this.
Mr. Unicorn, the one behind my ear.
Brother, I love that about you, Jack, if I'm honest. I love that, but I love the I love when somebody finds themselves and then is able to be themselves.
Yeah.
That's because that's the thing that I struggled with all my life. You know, I was different to other people. I know I was different to other people, but I tried to fit in, and then it's only the passage of recovery has allowed me to recognise I just need to do me.
Yeah.
So being able to have that and being able to allow people to come through treatment and just do you, whatever that is,
For sure.
it's cool. So when you just learn, do you know what, this is who I am and I'm going to do me, it was just like, yes, Jack. That's why I feel that's why like I have a, like, you know, like when we see each other, there's just that love there because I can see you're just doing you.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Yeah, you are now just doing you. You ain't trying to fit in. You know, you ain't trying to be anything that you're not. And you're just in that process of discovery and just keep discovering. And I just love it. When I see you, I just love it because it's just love. It's just love. You know, it's just love.
It's funny you say that because like, I've got a new partner now.
Yeah.
After 19 months.
Yes, I saw the pictures. And I saw the pictures, the family thing come down. I'm like, yes, Jack.
And it's like she said to me, which is stuck, I keep striving to be better, which I do. You know, I'm always looking to be a better day by day.
Yes.
And that's really stuck with me. She said this, a week and a half ago.
I don't disagree with her because that is absolutely true.
And it's sometimes I don't see that, you know, but it's sticking with me. And it's like, you know, the Broadway Lodge gave me the tools to deal with what I've had to go through. But then on the outside, because I'm in third stage treatment, which I'm very, very, very grateful for, do you know, and it's serving me a purpose, and it still is now, do you know. But I'm in a real life, you know, and I'm on that bridge to normality, do you know, and I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to become a better person, you know, and Broadway gave me the fundamental tools, which I've expanded on.
Well, for me, Jack, you're a role model because everybody that comes out or comes over to third stage, I'm just like, you know, just check in with Jack. He will show you the right way. So, you know, we've had Max come out
and Ben,
you know? Everybody now sees you as a role model, just the way that you do your recovery, just the way that you carry yourself. You know, just check in with Jack. You know, just check in with Jack.
Well, I checked in with 3 people from the other race this morning. 4 actually. Do you know what I mean?
You're a role model now. You're a role model. You are an absolute role model now. That's how I see it, bro.
I just got to keep getting on with what I've got to get on with. Do you know that bridge to normality?
Yeah. Let's talk about the bridge to normality.
Bridge to normality.
Let's talk about your dad's wedding.
Oh, wow.
Off the hook, bro.
Yes, sir. Mental.
Yes.
That was indescribable.
Yes.
Like, you know, my first of all, it was my sister's wedding.
Right, okay.
Last June.
Okay, sorry.
You know,
sis, forgive me for that one. Sorry about that one. When you see that, I was 12 I only remembered. I just remembered the day.
Yeah,
tell me about your sister's wedding.
Well, my sister had the wedding before I turned up, but we had like an after wedding sort of thing. And you know, it was the first time I'd been in a pub properly in my hometown. I was in a pub for 13 hours, and then I went into a nightclub, stone cold sober.
Absolutely.
And at a moment in time, at first it was like, you know, first hour I was very cautious. I was on my toes, and I was like, I've got a program here. I've done everything I possibly can to get this day, so now fucking earn it. Do you know, I earned that day, you know, and I did. 13 hours later, mate, I was still in a pub wearing a shirt, loving life, people drunk around me. I didn't get triggered.
No, not at all.
You know,
until the decision was made.
Yeah,
I'm not going back. So
I'm not. It's too much to lose.
Exactly.
Do you know? And
exactly.
And then that's from that to Christmas. I spent Christmas with my family, and I had a proper Christmas for the first time since I was like 16, 15.
Family Christmas.
Yeah, proper. With my dad and his wife, and with games and food. Oh,
not so self-conscious anymore.
No, and you know, because I spent Christmas prior to that in here. Yeah, you know, and so it was mental, beautiful. Do you know? And then my dad's wedding. February the 5th this year. No, the 6th, sorry. That was magical. Do you know what I mean? I was a best man. I wrote
the speech.
I'm hoping he watches this. I'm gonna send it him. You know, but I got a paper and I rolled it up like a scroll and I flicked it out. Do you know what I mean? And that was just an icebreaker. Do you know? And it was very, because it's the first kind of wedding I've been to and the first time I've had to do a speech. I was more shit scared at doing that speech than I am sharing in meetings down here.
Yeah.
Now, do you know? Because it's more normal.
Yeah.
You know, it's I was dancing. I was.
You represented for your dad.
Yeah.
All of you looked absolute. And obviously, you know, I'm a man that loves pink, and I love a man who can drop pink. So when I saw that, I was just like, "Come on, Jack!"
Remember that jumper that you wanted off me?
Yes, the
pink
hoodie. Yeah. I said to you, "Listen, bruv, when you leave treatment, that needs to come with me." It never came. The pink hoodie.
I still wear it now.
Do you know what? Actually, I think, and my missus will be able to say this, I think I went to this shop in Bristol and bought myself a pink hoodie. Well, I've got a pink hoodie now.
Because you walked in a week later.
Yeah. As a result of that pink hoodie that you had. See, the people just inspiring. But yeah, I loved it. So when I saw the wedding outfit and you guys were just rocking pink and dad rocking, bro, it was just like, yes, Jack.
No drugs.
Nothing.
People were just having a few beers, and I was okay with that. You know, my sister wasn't drinking; she's got a lot of medical problems, but you know, it felt real, and I was connected, and I was able to dance all night. I danced. Do you know what I mean? Sober, and it's one experience I've had. Do you know, I've been on a night out in Bristol in Prism, not drunk.
Yeah,
I've loved it more.
Honestly, Jack, I keep saying to people, I have had the best nights in recovery already.
Yeah.
Red Bull and water.
Or lemonade.
And I've been buzzing from those nights. I've literally come home.
Still buzzing.
Yeah, literally just like woke up. I remember I went the best. When you know that you can have that amount of fun and you don't need to drink or take drugs, and you have such a high, it's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
It is. And you remember everything. You're alert. You can hold conversations. You can dance. You can stop dancing. It's just, pardon me, I'm not constantly looking to go to the toilet. I'm not constantly wanting to get as much drink and drugs as I want. I'm not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about enjoying myself. And that's happened repetitively, you know. Weddings, you know, birthdays, being present for my nephew's birthday last year was amazing. I was able to buy him a cake. Yeah. You know, my brother's partner gave birth a week Saturday ago, and she doesn't have to grow up knowing that I'm an addict.
No, she'll never experience Jack RP as an addict.
As long as I keep doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know?
She'll never experience it, Jack.
And that's what it's all about. I held her for about half hour, and it's precious. You know, they don't know. And that is what it's all about. The family I have now, I can't put into words what I've got.
From hell to heaven.
Heaven is just a dot from where I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't complain, you know. I'm working part-time in a minute in a job that I enjoy. You know, self-employed paint and decorate. I'm learning to drive. You know, I've got a partner. You know, I've got a roof over my head. I've got a routine. I've got my health. I've stopped smoking. You know, I'm not taking drugs or alcohol.
Most important.
But that's all the exterior stuff. Do you know, I can shut my bedroom door at night and feel okay. You know, I can get a routine of sleep. So I'm sleeping well. Do you know, my confidence is back. Do you know, because I'm going to the gym. I'm put weight on. You know, I'm there for others. I can be present for my family. My sister's going through a lot of medical problems.
Let me just say something and add something. Absolutely 100% reliable. Trust me, reliable.
I try to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I've still got my SWOT.
I see it on your wall.
And most of them things have been ticked off.
Yeah.
All them threats near enough gone. You know, I've applied for the army, which was my dream. I can't join up until 2024 because I'm in recovery, but they've not declined me. So I'm not meant to be there yet.
You're going for real, aren't you?
Fucking right.
Do you know what? This is mad, right? This is so mad, right? there's so many people that come into this place, right, that have a dream that they couldn't do. Yes, and I remember, yours was, I want to go to the army.
And it's still there.
And it's still there. And you're going.
Yeah.
Because didn't you go for, you went for, yeah, you did. You went for some tests.
I had to do a process. I had to write a letter out personally. I had to write a letter out with Wendy, the manager. And I've had to go to the doctors, and they got back to me saying I can't join them until February 2024, and then they'll accept me. It's mad. I forgot about I broke my back in recovery too.
Oh, how could we forget that?
I'm sitting here walking, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you want to tell them the story quickly?
The story.
Jack broke his back in recovery.
For a month and a half out of treatment, I fell off a rope swing. 15 foot high. I can laugh about it now. I landed on my back. I landed on my neck, landed on my back. And I got, but the thing is the power of recovery. At that point, a month and a half out of treatment, when the medical team turned up, they wanted to give me morphine. I said, look, I don't know if I can take this because I'm in recovery. I was in physical pain. I couldn't breathe really because for 40 minutes, the impact kept me, but because I said I was in recovery, I didn't want to take morphine, but I needed it mentally and physically. Do you know what I mean? And I got rushed off to hospital. 4.5 hours I was in the hospital looking at sprinklers. They gave me all the morphine they could give me. I was on paracetamol drip. I was on a muscle relaxer. I was alone, in that place. And I was off and on with sleep because the pain was keeping me up. And 4.5 hours later, I was walking out of that place. Fucking walking out of that place in chronic pain. I remember a bloke called Andy who was in the other house, he phoned me, FaceTimed me there, and I cried to him, do you know what I mean? I got home and I cried. And for 6 to 7 days, I cried and cried and cried. I wanted to drink because I was in so much pain. I wanted comfort from my family. I wanted to move back and everything. I was bedbound for 12 to 13 days. 10 weeks later, I'm walking up a mountain.
Jack RP, such a legend.
And a big shout out to Andy as well. He was supportive. He wrote out a plan for my physio, which I had to do 3 times a day. Do I was on codeine. I scrapped them after 6 days because it was making me gurn and I didn't like the feeling.
Yeah. Jack, listen, I need to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
What tip would you give somebody to now, do you know what? I'm going to rewind the tape.
What tip was given to me?
Yeah, hold on. I'll just rewind the tape quickly. What was it like? What was it like in treatment for you here?
What was it like?
Yeah, what was it like for you?
Scary. Absolute scared. Bollocks. Feelings. Getting emotional in front of people. Not the unknown. Hearing people's stories of thinking this. I thought it was gangsters. I was living with a bloke from Wales who had 3 gold tooth, been in prison, part of gangs, and he was cuddling me when I broke up with my ex in here.
Mad, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? I was petrified, but I was also happy. I laughed. Every emotion in this building I went through. Every emotion. The first time I come back, I walked through them doors and I was emotional. I was walking up the road up here because I had to walk here, and the emotions were coming back and I was letting it because I was loving it.
It's a wonderful place, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful place.
But this place, yeah, it was... They don't call it Miracle Mansion for nothing. Do you know?
We're not being big-headed, it's just the truth, isn't it?
Yeah. The guidance, the support, the help, the pushing, the prodding, the emotions, everything is real and authentic, do you know? But you just got to be willing.
Yeah.
You just listen. Do you know? If I had to say anything to anyone, just do the next right thing. That's all you got to do. One step at a time.
Jack, thank you so much.
Thank
Last but not least, hopefully somebody's going to watch this and they'll think, do you know what? If he can do it, I can do it.
I can write.
Yeah. So, what's your tip for your recovery? What has been the thing that? What's been the thing that you can say? Yeah, this has served me well for my recovery.
Forgive myself. to let other people forgive you for the chaos I've caused. Ask for help.
Oh, you know that.
Ask for help.
One of my favourites.
Damn right.
Damn straight.
That's the one.
Ask for help.
Trust other people.
Somebody else said that. Trust the process.
Trust. Fucking hell, yeah! This place told me enough of that. I trust that because when I did a no send letter, I didn't know anyone, and I was that vulnerable, that open, like a surgery to my heart. You know, people just picked me up, tucked me underneath their wing, and that moment I was able to trust another human being. You know, and that's where I've got that from, because of me being in this place. You know, that process there, you know, taught me to talk about how I felt, talk about the bad shit, and to trust other people.
Yeah.
Do you know, that's the 3 principles: be willing, be open, and be honest.
Well, Jack, God bless you, brother.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for coming down again. We're going to be friends forever. I know that.
110%.
I know that. Listen, thank you for coming down.